There it is. Okay. Um, Good morning. Good morning, Scott, and everyone else out there in the RPG community. Um, I am DBJ. Thank you for joining RPG with DBJ. Of course, that's the name of the channel. And myself, I of course have a host with me. Today is a special occasion, special event because we are going to go to college. Fantasy Grounds College, that is, as we take a deep dive into one of the, I want to say, one of the premier virtual tabletops and electronic tools out there, one of which, this one of which I am not very familiar with. And I was shown a little tips and tricks the other day and was very impressed. So I said, you got to come on. So we're going to do this live. So just bear with us. But at the same time, please, anyone and everyone who has access to the chat, please throw in your questions, make some comments, ask for maybe some special requests that are physically possible from us. But allow my co-host to introduce himself, the community that he represents, and what we will be doing today. So please take it away.
All right. Good morning, DBJ. Once again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be on here and show off Fantasy Grounds. And, just to get the kind of like legalese out the way, Fantasy Grounds College is not directly affiliated with Smiteworks or the Fantasy Grounds brand per se. We are just a community of passionate fans of the software. And basically, what Fantasy Grounds does is there has been a need for people to be taught how to use the software because the biggest thing is the barrier of taking role playing games to the virtual table. And Fantasy Grounds is, I will not mince words here. It is a huge, steep learning curve. And if you don't have anybody to help you, yes, videos will get you so far. But so at the college, we get people in the classes, character creation, DMing, just to teach you the ins and outs of using the software. And we are not a gaming server. We like to host one shots and practice games. So then, the people that learn how to use the software can go out into other communities, that use Fantasy Grounds and then just start, running their own games because there's always players, but having competent DMs is a lost art, so to speak. And DBJ definitely knows what I'm talking about on that one. So with that, like he said, any questions or anything, just pop them in the chat, and I will try my best to answer them as best I can. So let's go ahead and get started. So basically, when somebody comes into the college, you'll probably get like 4 or 5 people tell you welcome. The community is more than a community, and you'll hear me if you ever join the Fantasy Grounds College. We're more than a community, we're a family. So we treat people like that when somebody joins the college. Like I say, you'll have like several people saying, "Hey, welcome. How'd you find us?" and stuff like that. But I digress. So let's go ahead and get started. So first thing you want to do is sign up for a class, and normally the first class you'll get led to sign up for is character creation. And I'm going to try to show you from a player standpoint how that process is going to go about. So let me go ahead and crack open my little cheat sheet here, and we'll go ahead and get started.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I just want to let everybody know that the link to the Discord channel for Fantasy Grounds College is right now in the details below the video. So at any time, if someone here wants to join or is knows some information about it, it's like, oh wow, I didn't know where it was. That information is located below, and then any other pertinent information, I will absolutely put that in the information. So um usually I'm not that ahead of the game, but this time I was. So yes, so that information is available.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so over here you see We call them tabs or badges or flags on the right hand side of Fancy Grounds here. So let's go ahead and get a PC sheet started. So you'll see the characters tab. You want to left click on that, and you see that we'll have some people here to be in the combat a little later on. Mo, Larry, and Curly. I just thought that was just really funny. So you want to hit the green tab, add item, and then that gives you a fresh character sheet to use. And the character sheet is very self-explanatory. You'll see a lot of stuff, but there's some stuff there too, and that's will be a little bit foreign. But during the class, the teacher or aide or professor or whoever is teaching the class will go over that stuff with you. So of course we want to just put in some stats, and you basically left click into the field, and then you just put in your scores. We're just going to go straight down the line here with the normal stat array. Oh, hold on, that's 14 actually. All right, and then 13 and 12 and 10 and 8. Okay, normal stat array. There we go. All right. Now, when you're making a character in Fantasy Grounds, there is a little bit of a system that you got to go about it. Um, Normally, people want to say, "Oh yeah, I want to grab my class first." No, you don't want to do that, because if you do that before you assign your attributes, sometimes Fantasy Grounds will have a brain fart and won't be able to calculate the other stuff that has to go into the character sheet. So first, you want to put in your ability scores first, then race and background, or background and race, and then finally your class.
Okay.
All right. So since we got our ability scores in, now we'll go to our race. And over here on the tabs again, you want to look up races. I don't think I'm saying races. I do not mean to say that at all. And so when you click that, you'll see a whole bunch of stuff. Now, when you see all, you'll see every single module that you have open. As you can see, I got a lot. So, of course, we got a filter. And,
There's someone has a question, and I believe I asked this to you before. Does this work with other systems? And do they? And I believe you answered this before, but if you could answer for everyone else, um, do they have an overlay that isn't fantasy based?
yes. Now, unfortunately, a lot of them are not on the Fancy Ground store, but there are tons of people in the college that have that knowledge to uh, answer requests to, like, say that you wanted to do like a horror thing for a Call of Cthulhu game. There are people that know how to do that stuff. Like I said, that's way beyond my pay grade. I'm nothing but a simple little peon, basically. So, but the leather background that you see here can be swapped out for maybe like a horrible monster towering over a helpless victim, and then the flags could be changed into maybe skulls or something.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot of things to grant more immersion. Because I mean, like, who's gonna like this layout here? Hey, we're playing Call of Cthulhu. It looks like a wizard spell book. So
Right.
that can kind of throw people off.
Oh, and game systems. Are there fantasy ground like Cipher System, Fantasy Grounds?
Yes, Fancy Grounds does support. Well, it's the Numenera system they call it, but yeah, we all know it as a cipher system. Unfortunately, it's not supported because Smiteworks did try to get in contact with Monty Cook Games, and Monty Cook was, he was very resistant to what Smiteworks was trying to do, so he didn't sign on for it. But the rule set is there, and you could import all the stuff that you would have from like the Strange and stuff like that, and put it into the Numenera rule set, because everybody knows that Numenera is basically the first basic overlay of the cipher system, basically. So
Okay.
yes, that is there.
And the last question, and you can do this as you're going along with the character creation system. What are some of the differences between and selling points between Fantasy Grounds and Roll 20? And you can answer that as you go along, so that people can see what you're doing as you're doing it. If that's all right, I know it's a little juggling a little bit, but
Oh no, that's fine.
all right.
That's totally fine. A lot of people, of course, what it does boil down to at the end of the day. Yes, it is price, and I just have a
Oh,
little
okay.
sheet here that I prepared and brought into Fantasy Grounds for. Okay, so when you download the demo, you still have access to this. You can play in a campaign hosted by somebody with an ultimate license, and now, of course, you don't get all the good stuff like, play in a game hosted by a standard person or whatever like that, and you don't get access to the tokens, but you still get access to the rule sets 3.5, 4, 5e, Fate Core for people that like Fate, and then the Pathfinder rule set, and then Cipher System, aka Numenera. And now, so when you have a demo license, a lot of people get hung up like, what do I got to buy all the books again and stuff like that? No, you really don't have to buy the digital versions of what you have sitting on your shelf already. As long as you want to be just a player, you really don't need anything. You just need the ability to show up and play some games. That's it. Now, if you do want to start DMing, you'll see up here in the graphic, in a standard license and an ultimate license, you can actually start building campaigns that will get saved. If you have a demo license and try to make a campaign, it will not save. So it just all depends on what um, level of dedication that you want to put in the fantasy grounds. And down here at the bottom, one-time pricing for ultimate license is $40, but for a while we didn't have this option up here. It was either all in or you were stuck with the demo.
Okay.
so so for the price of a cup of coffee, you could just try Fantasy Grounds standard license for $4 a month.
Um, Yeah, I'll answer. Vincent has a question about the limited number of. It seems like a limited amount of supported systems, or is this the complete rule set or SRD? And you'll uh, you'll see um, when we go into the character creation system that you can toggle back and forth between, say, the for fifth edition, for example, you can toggle back and forth between just the player's handbook in fifth edition or the additional materials that were released through fifth edition. So you can toggle back and forth between them. So it's not just the SRD, but it's the SRD plus
Hmm.
the complete rule set. As far as other systems, they don't have access to those. But it, from what I can understand, what you've been telling me before is that if you understand the programming, you can add in what you can basically customize it to what you want. As but like you said, it's a steep learning curve, but once you learn it, you can pretty much customize it to the system that you want.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the beauty of Fantasy Grounds. Yes, you do have that steep learning curve, but once you get over it, and then you can start customizing, putting your own spin on certain things and whatever else. And there's a lot of extensions and stuff like that to change your experience in Fantasy Grounds. So yeah, here's your cup of coffee. You can try this out. You get a host of all this stuff right here. And hey, if you don't like it, you've only spent $4. No, not too much of a big deal. And then if you want to go ultimate, you see here $10. And then yes, here's the thing that really hurts people, the 149. But sometimes they do have sales where it drops down significantly. But like I said, for a cup of coffee, you try it out for a month or two and see how you like it. And if you don't, hey, you're only out of 4 or $8.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and close that.
Sure.
And like you were saying, you can toggle stuff right here. So like for the races, yes, you can just go with the player's handbook, but they have the other ones like the Sword Coast Adventures and stuff like that. So you got those and other you got some pretty pricey coffee over there. Nice.
You have no doubt. I mean, you have no idea how pricey coffee can be.
Right, exactly. Oh my goodness, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And then for other rule sets, now granted, I don't have all the other rule sets for races open because, as you know, with computer programs, the more stuff you have open, the more op you have for lag and stuff like that. And if you have too way too much stuff open, of course you can end up having freezes or crashes. So for this tutorial, basically, I'm keeping things kind of locked down to a 5e rule set. But yeah, there's Pathfinder SRD because like when you have the Pathfinder rule set, yes, you have the official rules of Paizo for their rule set and also the SRD. So you get you get the freebie stuff that you already have access to on the net, but plus you have the actual rule set. And actually, right now, to gear up for Pathfinder Second Edition, um, we are running playtest. Some of the people of the community actually have made pre-made the rule set for Pathfinder Second Edition, and they are running playtests for people that are interested in doing that. So, okay, so let's get back on track here a little bit. So now we got our character sheet up, we got our stats in. So now we're going to pick our race. So let's go with a Dragonborn. So now in Fantasy Grounds, you don't have to type all that stuff out and whatever else. You just simply take the little shield icon, left click and drag it over to where it says race, and then drop it. That's all you got to do. And over here in the chat window, let me get this out of the way for you. This tells you what is added to the character sheet.
Cool.
So that's it for your race. So now we're going to close that. And now we want to go to our backgrounds. So you find that tab, left click, get that out of the way. And once again, you got your player's handbook, Sword Coast Adventures, and the other stuff that's the Volos and Xanathars and all that stuff too. If I was to have that open, all those backgrounds would be available too. But like I said, for this tutorial, I'm just keeping it kind of just stock for fifth edition. So we're gonna click on the player's handbook, and you see, of course, all the normal ones. So let's have him be a folk hero. So once again, left click and drag over towards his background and drop it. Once again, over here in the chat window, it tells you what's been added,
I
your
see.
your skills and everything and whatever. So that's it for that. And of course, pay attention to the skills that you have because when you pick your class, you don't want to pick something that you already got unless you're a rogue or a bard because they have expertise. Okay, so now of course the bread and butter of what we all came here to see is classes. So once again, we're going to go with the player's handbook, and let's just keep it simple. Let's just make him a fighter. So once again, left click and drag over to where it says class and level, and then drop it. Now you'll see a prompt that comes up. Choose two skills from the list below in which your character will become proficient. Okay, from our background, we had picked, I think it was animal handling and survival. So let's go with athletics and let's say, no, intimidation. There we go. And then once you pick those two, you'll see a check mark right here to say, okay, you picked your two. Do you want to confirm? You hit okay. And then once again, those skills have been added.
Right. There's
Uh, yeah, Vince, you can just roll for your attributes too. Yeah, you can do whatever type of generating you want. I'm just using this just for the sake of the tutorial. But yeah, any questions that may seem mundane or anything, please ask them. Yeah, you could do your regular roll 3d6 or roll roll 4d6 and then pick the take drop the lowest one. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll clear that out. And of course, down here you see that here's your dice. So we're going to roll the 3d6 method. So you want to right click and you'll see this radio menu. And we want to pick roll 3. Okay. So now you see these dice are floating in the air. Come over here to the chat window and simply left click and they roll. And then you see the number. Okay. Unfortunately, we have a 6.
Yeah.
So so whatever dump stat we have is is going to be hurting pretty bad. But now let's go do the 46. Once again, right click, the radio menu will pop up, pick roll 4, and now we have, once again, now we got 4 virtual dice in the air, and let's left click.
Now, just to make it clear for anyone who's in the chat and those who are going to watch the video, that you are not affiliated with the corporate fantasy grounds um, uh, industry. Essentially, like you do not represent fantasy grounds, but you do represent fantasy grounds college, which is a community of people who um, are essentially tutors to teach people how to use it. If I'm
Yes, absolutely. We get no kickback from them at all. Although they do shout us out on their broadcast. We also have a lot of uh, D&D streamers. We have GeoQuester. We have Rob Tui, who's huge in the community, and I'll make that more apparent as we go on. They also give us shout outs, and um, when you go on their streams, sometimes they give away free licenses and stuff like that. And also when Fancy Grounds College does streaming, sometimes they also give out uh, products and licenses and stuff like that too. But yeah, we are not directly connected to Smiteworks at all. Period.
okay, and I guess this is a little bit of a background, I believe, and I don't want to make this a controversial thing, but if I'm not mistaken, Wizards of the Coast um, at one point was working on a synergy with Fantasy Grounds, and then that fell apart. Then they weren't going to do digital tools, and then they somehow merged with D and D Beyond, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Um, WotC does, they do their D&D Beyond, but Smiteworks is actually in a contract with WotC, so that's why when products come out from WotC, Smiteworks can start to convert those things as soon as WotC gives Smiteworks the go ahead. Sometimes Smiteworks will come out with the product like as it releases, but sometimes things get a little chugged up and they have to wait. Smiteworks has to wait until they get the okay from WotC. But there's sometimes where Smiteworks will actually go ahead and just get the product started. So when they do finally get the okay, because they will get it eventually, they can go ahead and just finish up what they got started. So yes, WotC is an actual contract with Smiteworks.
Okay. And I was just trying to distract you because I really don't want that 6 in my stats, but you know how us players are, man. It's like let's move the dice off the table quick before he writes it down. Uh,
Right, right.
I'm just messing with
Oh no, I feel the same way. It's like no. All
you.
right. Okay, so now we got our class and everything, and of course, as you saw in the chat, when you apply the class, all the feats and abilities, and you see that the proficient saving throws are lit up by the little yellow stars that's stating, hey, he's a fighter, so he's got proficiency in strength saves and con saves. So, okay, so I'll start going over the sheet a little bit. Of course, your name. Now, the hero points, that is an extension. Normally, that would not be here, but this would be here, the inspiration, and you can hover over stuff to get a little tooltip that'll pop up over stuff that is actually baked into the rule set. So, okay, say that you're in a game and the DM awards you some inspiration. You can click that, and the character's portrait up here that's linked to will actually have a golden star to let the players know and the DM know, okay, that person has inspiration. Now, when they use it, you would click, and of course, you won't see it here, but you would see a message, so and so has used a point of inspiration. So the DM knows, okay, that person actually had some inspiration and then they used it. So you can't, you don't want to have people cheating, of course. And, for the most part, people normally adhere to the rules, but of course, there are those few people that
Mm.
try to bend and break the rules and stuff like that. So, all right, so moving on, you see all your stats. And if you ever need to make a check, you just simply double click and you roll a strength check. Same thing with a save. Double left click, and then there's your save. Now, as you see now for the AC, you see that it's properly calculated. You got a +2 for Dex, and that applies here too. Then also calculates into your initiative and whatnot. Now, if you want to dig in a little deeper with it, you see the magnifying glass there. You left click, and it opens up the combat calculator, and it gives you all the breakdown of what you have. And here's where the DM or the player can go and say that you had a miscellaneous magical item or whatever, and it gave you a +2 to your armor class. You would just simply left click in that field right there and then hit 2 or whatever the number is. And also say that you got a custom piece of armor and the DM says, yes, you are proficient in it or not. You can click that and you're proficient or not. And for heavy armor, of course, you do have the stealth disadvantage. And if it was like say that it was a light piece of armor, but it has some kind of function in it that made it disadvantage. So you could simply go in here, even though it's light armor, you can still make it have disadvantage on stealth.
Just to respond to what Vince said, because he's tempted to build his material um, in this because he uses the cipher system.
Hmm.
They do have access to Numenera, not specifically cipher system, but if you're able to customize things, I don't see there being a problem. Um,
Yeah, and like I said earlier, unfortunately, there's no direct support. I mean, like the
right.
the the rule set itself is there, but you have to bring in everything yourself, like anything from the strange or any other settings from that's based on the cipher system. You would have to bring that in, uh, manually yourself because there is nothing on the Fancy Ground store for that. 'Cause like I said, for some reason, Monty Cook Games, they were completely resistant. And to answer Vince's question again, in the demo version, you can do this. You can build a character and everything. It will be saved on the DM's table, but you can have the DM export the character for you so that you can use it on other people's tables. But as far as making a campaign, you cannot unless you have a standard or ultimate license.
So, but I'm presuming that I mean, despite not having support from the designer, I'm assuming that there's support from the community. I mean, and not just cipher system, but any of the rule systems, right? Like for custom content or homebrew content or something, that there's a larger community out there to say, hey, I'm just making an example, like, hey, I'm using fifth edition, but I want to use, make something far future. Is there anyone out there that did a conversion or has rules or has something unique?
Oh yeah, man, oh my goodness, that's probably like a whole nother video in itself.
Okay,
Uh,
okay,
yeah, well, like for instance, this hero point system, like I said, this is not normally in Fantasy Grounds. Is an extension that someone made. So, like when you have those games where you might want to add hero points, you can do that. And if you really wanted to, you could go in here and change the name of it. Say that your system says instead of hero points, um, let's put in fate. Once you learn how to spell fate, fate points.
okay.
So now it's fate points, and you can go in here and change the dice that it is. So let's say it's a D6, okay, and you want to roll that, and the person says use hold on, let me zero that out, and it says down here, such and such is using fate points, and say there it is, there's a dice. So say you got one fate point, and it's a D4, you roll it, and there it is. You know, fate point bonus because it's a D4, and if you had like a one to it or whatever, and you can add a little extra modifiers to it too if you want. Like down here, you
Hmm.
can put a +2 to your bonus. So you would go down here in the modifier box, left click, and you'll see that it's active. You'll see the word adjusting at the bottom, and you will just hit 2. So now you see a +2. So now whatever you roll next will add that modifier plus your dice roll. So it'll be a D4 +2.
Oh wow. Okay.
So you can do changes and modifiers on the fly. All right,
Hmm.
and then once you get done with that, you just hit 0, and now it's back to normal. All right. So moving on the character sheet here. All right. Now up at the class and level, there's a magnifying glass. You click that. Now here is where you keep track of your XP. Now when the DM awards you XP, that will be tabulated concurrently. It will keep on adding up. Now, the only thing that you have to do on your own is next level. So that does not tabulate for you. You will not get a little ding that says, okay, you're level 2, go ahead and level up. So you'll have to keep track. Okay, I got this much XP. Okay, now I can level up, or I'm just a little short, or whatever. So you always just put next level, and then when you get enough XP after the session, before the next session, whatever, check your XP. Okay, I can level up now or later or whatever the DM decides to go with. And also, you see another reason to customize. Say that you are just a normal fighter, but you didn't pick the Eldritch Knight, but the DM gives you the ability to cast spells anyway. So you can go in here and actually change that. You could be a full caster, or a half caster, or one-third caster. So you can
Oh wow.
still, even though you might be one particular class and archetype, there's still room to be able to customize, add stuff to it. Um, you might actually change your hit dice. You could go here, right click, and erase that and say that your fighter has become imbued with godly power. So instead of a D10, it could be a D12, same as a barbarian. But this is just a regular fighter. So, like, once again, it can still be customized. You can even change the name of the class on the fly. Say that you went to a you went through a horrible fight with a outer worldly thing, and you taken on a different aspect of your class. So, like, let's say that you got into a fight with a void being, and you got imbued with some void power. You, so now you're a void fighter. And see, now it changes. Now you're a void fighter, level 1. So it's just those little things that can add to your emotion. It's just not a static sheet. That
So,
Go ahead.
literally, like what you just did, like on the fly, is like you can really, if you have house rules.
Hmm.
I'm just make example. Like let's say you have 3 or 4 house rules for your table that
Hmm.
you can put those in fantasy grounds beforehand. Like,
Hmm.
hey, in my game, we don't use inspiration. We use, like, you have fate points or something, or hero points,
Hmm.
and that's automatic. But even during the game, like you said, you could, if someone is let's say playing that fighter, and you and the player or whoever talked or something, or said, you know what, I I think this player deserves to have something different, or we talked it over and we want to make, I don't know, a modification of the Eldritch Knight or something and
Hmm.
call it a Void Fighter.
Hmm.
You can just on the fly just create a like a or modify a new class or race or anything like that. I mean, that's what it looks like to me because that's kind of what you just did. But just wanted to get some clarification from you.
Yes, absolutely. You can do this on the fly, or I mean, you can actually build a actual class. Now that's a whole nother video 'cause that's pretty in depth and it's crazy. But once you get it down, you can have your custom class, or archetype or whatever, be integrated into the class system. So, just for a quick say, oh, okay, say that instead of having the Eldritch Knight and the Battle Master and the Champion, you want to add in the Void Fighter. Okay, so you could actually add that archetype underlaying already into the existing, what you would say, stack of archetypes already. So
Okay.
when the person would hit third level, it would say, okay, do you want to pick Eldritch Knight, Champion, Battle Master? And if you put the stuff in correctly, it would say Void Fighter. So that you have another choice to make instead of just those regular three.
Sweet.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on to the
Yeah.
courtesy a little bit more. Okay,
Okay.
so now here's special moves like something that's granted to you or something that the player comes up with that
Mhm.
can be put on that line. And this line is not stuck at one line. You could add as much text as you want and it will just keep, building down, building down, building down.
Mhm.
And same thing for special defenses. Same thing. The lines keeps building down. So it's not just stuck to that one line.
Okay.
Okay, so now moving down to all the hit point stuff. Okay, so of course, as your character takes damage, the wound number will pop up here, and those numbers will pop up in green. Okay, and then as you see here, the this right here, it can either be adjusted to where the characters can roll for their own hit points and then add their own con modifier. But if you don't, it's to default set that when you level up it will just take the average and then give it that to you. So, but if you have house rules, the people's like, well, I don't like that. Okay, so we go in the options and turn it off. So
Okay.
when you level up, the max hit points will not increase. You would have to do that manually. Okay, and now the TMP, of course, is temporary hit points. And those numbers will pop up in blue. So you can easily take a look at, okay, I got this many wounds, I got this many temp hit points, stuff like that. So, all right. So now going down to the death saves, everybody hit the death saves. Okay. Now, of course, when you go down to zero hit points, you're bleeding out, dying, blah, blah, blah. So now, by default, it's turned on. Every time your round comes up, you'll automatically roll your death save automatically. This can be turned off. So if people just don't like it, say, no, I want to roll my own death save. Okay, sure, go ahead. But it's by default, it is turned on. And same rules apply. If you roll a critical success, that actually calculates. If you roll a critical fail, that also um, calculates correctly. So you can get two ticks on a crit and then a one on a regular roll.
Okay.
That's done automatically. Okay, so DBJ, do you have any questions about this main sheet here before we move on? Or
No, I
or
think I've pretty much of interrupted you enough.
no, no, that's fine. That's what we're all here for. We're here to crack this sucker open and see what can it do. So no, please feel free to interrupt anytime. All right, so we're going to move on to the skills. Now, as you see, the ones with the yellow star, those are the ones that you are proficient with. And you see this over here in your totals. So Fancy Grounds automatically calculates your proficiency and stuff like that, and your modifiers. Now, say that your DM gave you something that says, you hung with a druid for several months, and you gain a +2 to your animal handling. So now, when you roll your animal handling, not only will it roll this total, it will also add this in also, and
Cool.
that can be changed anytime. Say that you got cursed, and your link with the druid has been severed. So now, it could be a negative now,
Oh wow. Okay.
and then you might restore your balance, and then it goes back to zero. But of course, everybody wants to customize. So down here we have the edit list. You click that and go back over here to the top. Now you see a green button. Go ahead and click that. Let's call this badassery, I guess. So I know how to spell. Uh, there you go, badass. You're a badass. Okay. So now you want to click the brown button to lock it down. Now you get to choose a stat. Maybe badass is not just with strength. It could be, wisdom. It could be your intelligence, like you assault your opponent with your mental acuity against them. So whatever stat you want that to link to, let's say that it's just strength for sake of argument. It automatically adds in your proficiency bonus along with any modifiers.
That's
So
cool.
so when you roll it, see,
Cool.
it adds that.
Great.
And
That means I could add in my my general knowledge skill instead of the history skill they have in there, which has always been a slight
exactly,
pet peeve of mine for fifth edition. It's like,
exactly.
why didn't they just make it knowledge instead of history? Because history to me seems more focused than just a general knowledge skill
Hmm.
about something. I was like, ah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And of course, from the DM side, it shows the actual stats and everything. But now from the player side, you would actually see the name of your skill, badass. It would actually come up that way as badass. So like these checks and everything are from the DM side, but from the player side, when you roll your badass skill, it would say such and such character badass skill, and stuff like that. So just add a little bit more flavor and immersion to what you're doing.
Okay.
And the regular skills can also be edited too. Like you don't have to just always make up custom stuff. So like you could actually go through here and change, like say that uh, you want to change the nature skill to uh, Druidic focus or whatever. You can just go in there and just change the name of that if you want. So it's not just you have to constantly add skills and add skills. You can either add skills, or if in your campaign or your world or whatever, like say like you're in a world where the humans have no connection to wildlife at all, you can just go to animal handling and just erase it. So once again, you can add more flavor and more immersion to whatever you're doing on the character sheet.
So, like, if let's bring up two different types of themes. One would be something like gritty and post-apocalyptic, right? Like, say you one person wants to have a game that's more like Dark Sun, Conan, Evil has won, the world's destroyed, fantasy, and then somebody else says, "Hey, I want to have more of a lighthearted, um, back flipping in plate armor kind of game."
Hmm.
You could actually change the names of things to better reflect what you want, so it's more immersive.
Oh yeah, sure. Like take weapons for instance. Like instead of saying a dagger, and say that you're playing that post-apocalyptic. There's no decently defined daggers. You might find a dagger that's got rust on it. You can say like rusted blade, or toxic fuming blade. And you could change the name of it. Not only that, you can also change the damage it does. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can just take the wheel that's already there take the wheel off of it and put a different wheel on it. Instead of taking the whole thing off and try to redesign it, you just take what's already there and just reflavor it to whatever you want. Like say that in your post-apocalyptic setting, you still want to use the Eldritch Blast, but you want to call it something else. Just simply go into that spell name and change it. Waste Blast, or the Deadness of the Void, or whatever. Just simply just change the name of it, and you can change the damage it does instead of doing uh, what this Eldritch Blast does, what force damage or whatever.
Mhm.
You can change it to acid or lightning or whatever else. So then when you roll the damage, yes, mechanically it's still rolling like an Eldritch Blast, but now you've changed the damage type and the name that pops up on the chat window when you roll it. Because, like I said, you change the name and that's what it rolls. It's like, hey, I'm rolling Eldritch Blast, but he wants to call it this. Oh well, that's what's going to pop up on the chat window.
Cool. So, because
Yeah.
what this isn't a pet peeve of mine, but this is just my thing that most things can be done with a simple reskin and
Hmm.
slight mod than having to come up with a whole new rule set. So I could actually make my Psionicist class by just picking like sorcerer or wizard or something, and
Hmm.
then just change the names of the spells or and abilities in the class, and just call it like a mentalist or something, and instead of magic missile, it's a telekinetic blast or something, or instead of shield spell, it's a psychokinetic shield or whatever.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
And if we don't go over too much, I'll actually show people how to actually start to do that. Um,
Well, I'm known for going over whatever. It doesn't matter.
huh?
So,
All
okay, Dragonborn. The Dragonborn's still trying to be born. He's screaming and he's
right.
hungry and trying to escape out the shell, and we haven't let him get out of there. So, uh,
All right, fair enough. All right, so now we'll go to the abilities page. Now, every time you have features, class features, or whatever else features from your background or whatever, they'll populate here. Your traits and proficiencies in your languages. And these are not static. They can change. You can alter them. Like for fighters, you say, okay, well, we have a fighting style. What is it? You would say, let's say, defense. So we'll just put DEF. So the player in the DM knows, okay, he or she picked defense, and then you can add any extra text like this adds blah 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 to blah blah blah, or just say defense and stuff like that. So you can change it. You can add more. Say the DM gave you a feature that's not in the book. You just simply hit the edit button down here. You'll see everything light up. Hit the plus. A new line is made. You type in whatever you want, lock it back down, and then you can actually hit the shield icon, and now you can name the feature and then add any text that you want, because see, the text does not add anything. It doesn't change any mechanics. This is all fluff text, so you don't have to type things a certain way. That's more of the coding side. But features, yeah, you just name it whatever you want, and then put it with whatever flavor text that you want to do, and that can go for traits, proficiencies, and of course languages, because you'll pick up languages. You simply just edit, add, and then type in whatever. It might be something that's in a different setting, like a Valurian language. You just type that in, and you can add some flavor text to it and whatever you want. Lock it down, and you're ready to go.
cool.
And then, of course, any feats that have come up that are added, via, they want to forego their stat bump instead of instead of that, they get a feat. When they pick it, they click and drag the feat over there, then it pops in there. Or if a DM wants to add a custom feat, once again, edit button, type it in, lock it down, give it a name, flavor text, and you're on your way.
Cool. So, as an example, so let's say this the player characters were, I'm just making example, like imprisoned in a deep drow city, and um the player and the game master, dungeon master, and everyone else kind of feels like this player earned, I don't know, like a rogue's like sneaking ability, or like you know just displayed rage and it's like, well, I want to play a fighter, but I'm going to award this player like the rage ability from a barbarian or something. Um, that you could actually just put that in there into the
Yep.
character
Boom.
and award them.
Yep. There you go. Rage. It's just that simple. You just
Okay.
rage,
Okay.
and you can just type in whatever you want, blah 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 blah, and then lock it down. There you go. It's got rage, and it don't have to be just regular rage. It could be rage, and then add another effect. Like I said, we'll get into that when we go into the more technical side of things. But yeah, like I said, this page right here is just nothing but fluff text. There's
Okay.
nothing mechanical that happens, so you can get as in detail or mundane as you want with the text with your feats.
Okay.
All right, so now we're going to move on to the inventory page. So, of course, with your background, and let's get the background and also get the class up here. You're going to have your equipment that you have for your class and your background. You know what? For the sake of the tutorial here, I don't even care about the background. We'll just
Okay.
focus on the class. So go ahead and scroll down. You'll probably get carpal tunnel scrolling all the way down to all this. But you see your equipment, and see the cool thing is the links for the stuff that up here are already embedded as links right down here. So you don't have to go to the PHB, find that, open it up, and then search for it. It's all right here. And this can be done by creators too. Like if you have like say that you made up a whole separate section of weapons, called Voidborn, and it's like 5 or 6 different weapons that can only be used by let's say by our Void fighter. So you would go ahead and just make a link, say void fighting tools or weapons or gear, and you can just simply just make it a link and pop it right here. So if anybody made a void fighter, they would have access to that via the link. So instead of having to go to the special module that you made of the void fighter and open it up and then look through it, boom, the link is just right there.
Cool.
Okay, so excuse me. So let's go ahead and get our gear for our fighters. So of course we got chainmail, leather, longbow, and 20 arrows. So we're just gonna go with chainmail. So you open the link, and it shows all the armors and all the stats for them and stuff like that. So we'll find our chainmail, left click and drag, and drop it. Bam! It's got the wait for the sign. And the cool thing about it is, of course, the Dex mod is not going to do anything since it's heavy armor. But
Okay.
you see the change in the armor class. It automatically calculates it for you. You don't have to get in there and type in and stuff like that. It automatically does it for you. And since it's chainmail, the stealth disadvantage will already be clicked. See, it's already been clicked.
Okay.
And
So if you let's I let's say in my setting it's very ancient Romanesque with like gladiators and things like that, and chainmail doesn't exist. I could actually go in and change the types that without changing any of the statistics. I can go in and change the types of armor, bronze. What I don't know, plate and greaves or something, or um, instead of a shield, I'm going to call it a buckler or something like that. Like I could go in and customize the names of the items as well.
oh yeah, sure. You just simply just because it doesn't. Let me see.
All right.
Bor
I don't know.
bronze. All right, yeah, there you go, bronze. Yeah, see, changing the name doesn't change, like you said, it doesn't change the stats.
Okay.
It just simply just changes the name of it for yeah. So yeah, you could do that with any item at all, and there's ways of actually taking stuff that's already here
Hmm.
and then actually getting drilling inside of it and changing stats if you would like. So yeah, you can either say, okay, we're just changing the name of it, or you can say, you know what, let's dig into this and just really make it something that I can really call my own. So it's up to you on how deep you want to dig into stuff and start making things more customized.
Okay.
And okay, so we're gonna want a shield. So we'll grab that, drag it over, boop. And once again, if we go back, it's been added. So now we're at 18.
Cool.
You don't got to do anything else to it. It's just done for you. Okay, so now we're gonna go back to the inventory sheet, and now we're going to go with martial weapon and a shield, which we already got, or two martial weapons. So now let's go to our weapons list and go to martial weapons. Here they are. And let's say that we're going to go with let's go with Morning Star.
All right.
Bam. Now, I think you said in a roll 20, you still have to make up your own macros or whatever for weapons. You don't have to worry about that in Fancy Grounds. Bam. Macros already made. And it automatically adds your proficiency bonus already for your strength or dex or whatever it is. And it adds your modifier to your damage also. You don't have to type in anything. It's automatically done for you. And you can actually go in and change it up if you wanted to. So let's open it up. Okay, we got the Morning Star. The base is whatever the base stat is.
Okay.
And then see the star is already lit up, so it gives you proficiency in it. And of course the damage dice. And you don't have to worry about that right there. And bonus. So you know what? Let's go ahead and just make this a magical weapon. Say it's a Morning Star +1.
Okay.
So you would just tap left click in the bonus, hit one, and tap in the bonus for the damage, and hit one. And now to actually make it official, because of course you do have monsters that have magical resistance to non-magical weapons.
Okay.
Now, of course, you have piercing damage because of the Morning Star. To make this officially magical, you simply do comma, space, and then simply type in the word magic. That's it. So this weapon now knows if a creature has resistance to non-magical weapons. When this weapon strikes and causes damage, it knows to ignore that resistance on that creature, and you don't got to do anything else to it. Fancy Grounds does it for you automatically. So if there's a creature that has that resistance, it will not have resistance to this weapon.
Sweet.
You don't have to code anything besides that simple right there, comma, space, magic. That's all you got to do to make any weapon magical. That's all you got to do.
Hmm.
And then, like I said, if you wanted to change it, um, of Doom, Morning Star of Doom, and you see that the stats automatically got updated for the +1 and the +1 on damage. Saw it updated. And when you roll, attack, Morning Star of Doom.
Wow.
And once again, add more flavor, more immersion. I had a monk that I straight ripped off Street Fighter, and I made one of his attacks a Shoryuken. So
Yeah.
I typed in Shoryuken, and so whenever I did it, it would roll, whatever my character's name was, does a Shoryuken. So not only can you change the text of the weapon, you can also add some other preemptive text, with a roaring scream that comes from the depths of the soul, such and such does a Shoryuken. Now, of course, that text doesn't do anything; it's just fluff, and it pops up in the chat window. It's like, oh, cool, and then you see if you roll the hit, and then you roll damage.
That's cool.
Yeah. All right. So continuing on with the gear. All right, so now we've got our martial weapon and shield. So now light crossbow. So we go back to the weapons, and now we're looking for a light crossbow. And there it is, light crossbow. And you can either go to adventuring gear and put in the 20 bolts, or you can add it in manually because it's just a placeholder basically. So it's up to you if you want to go ahead and type it in now manually or wait till you get to your adventuring gear to do it yourself. That's fine, but we'll just ignore it. And then The one that really blew your mind was the pack. So now
Yeah.
the Dungeoneers pack or Explorers pack. So we go to Adventuring Gear and we find our packs. And let's see, we're going to go with the Dungeoneers pack. So you simply left click and drag it over here. Bam. Everything gets populated for you with the weight and everything. Saves ton. And see, when they first came out with this system, that was not there. So you would have to go in there and manually drag over every single thing that was part of the packs.
Wow.
Yeah, it was mind numbing after a while. And over here you see that there's a location. Now, everything that you have is listed as carried or equipped. Now, a lot of DMs, some don't care, some are very anal about it. So, what is actually in your backpack? So, let's go to the Pythons here. You just type in B for backpack, click away from it, and now you see that the Python has been indented and
Mhm.
the name of it backpack. So that means that this item, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it lets the player know and also the DM know, okay, this item is in your backpack. And it comes up sometimes where people are trying to say, well, yeah, that was in there, or no, it wasn't. Doing that, you automatically know. So, what if you're at camp one night and a thief or whatever comes and steals your backpack? You get up the next morning, it's like, oh man, you look around, and you see that your backpack is long gone. So what did you have in it? And then the player can say, oh well, I had this. No, forget it, dude. I already know what you had in it. So I looked at your backpack. So it's gone. So what you would do is backpack up here. You would click this until it clear. So then anything that would be associated now you don't have.
Cool.
And then if you happen to get it back, sure, you can have it being carried again. Okay, now moving down to the treasure. Of course, when you get gold or electrum pieces or whatever type of currency you have in your world, you have to have a place for it to go. So let's put GP. So when you get awarded coinage, Fancy Grounds knows where to put it. So, from your background or finding treasure out and about and stuff like that, the DM will award it, and it will go to gold pieces, electrum pieces, or whatever type of currency you have in your world. And then down here at the bottom, you see your encumbrance, and that is calculated automatically as more weight is get taken or added. It keeps track of it for you. You don't have to do all that crazy amount of work to try to keep track of it manually.
Now, I remember we mentioned off air that uh, when the players say defeat a creature or they find treasure and there's gold and such or coin inside, that it automatically divides it amongst the the
Yeah.
characters in their sheets.
Yes, there's the party sheet, and this is the combat tracker and the party sheet are a DM's best friend. So to make use of the party sheet, of course, we have to have characters in the sheet. So we'll take Mo, Larry, and Curly
Okay.
in there. So now they're part of the party sheet, and of course, this is can be changed. As people leave and stuff like that, you just
Mhm.
simply add them or take them out of the party sheet. So go ahead and close that. Now, this is cool behind the screen stuff for the GM to use. Let's
Okay.
say that the party is going through a treacherous terrain that maybe some rocks might be, a possible rock slide. And yeah, sure, you can go ahead and ask the players to make those saves, but maybe you don't want to do that. So what you can do is behind the scenes, make sure this eyeball is actually faded out like that. So
Hmm.
now say that the characters have to make a dexterity save. And you can make the DC whatever you want. Let's just make it 10
Okay.
and then roll. Now, for every person that is in the party sheet, it rolls. So okay, Curly made it, Mo failed, and Larry made it. Okay. So now the players, you know how to add more attention. Just roll random dice because the GM's dice, unless you turn the option on, the only thing your players will see is some shadows of dice being rolled. It don't have to be anything, or it could be something. The players don't know that.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So
Yes,
so it's like it's a weird, not weird. It there's a way you can alter so-called rolling behind the screen because
hmm,
technically you're I mean if we were physically at a table and I rolled behind the screen, all you would hear is some dice rolling, you wouldn't know what was going on.
yes,
But because it's a digital tool, you can actually show dice being rolled and not the result of what that is. And
correct.
so you're not really you're rolling in the open, but you're also not letting them know what is going on. And you've
Hmm,
already added in the digital thing, whether it's a deck save or something like that. So you're not quote unquote cheating. You're not fudging dice because it's technically in fantasy grounds. It's in the system. It's not something that you've fudged, but at the same time, you're also keeping that mystery as
right,
well.
right. And since it's behind the screen, okay, you got Mo failed, okay, but you could say he succeeded. Oh well, you're traversing this very narrow ledge. Suddenly, rocks start to tumble down as the ground shakes beneath you, and you definitely dodge out of the way of the rocks, or you cling to the wall as tight as you can, and the rocks pass over you. Well, normally Mo would have got hit with some rocks, but you say, hey, you all made it.
Okay, that's that's sweet.
Yeah, and like I said, you can change on the fly. Like, say you're going through the exact same scenario, and this time it's ice added on top of the well, that's not that's impossible. That's Pathfinder stuff right there. Okay, so now the DC is 15. So now it's even harder, So like more immersion. Now it's like it's a raging snowstorm, and visibility is pretty much zero. Now you roll, you know. Now everybody failed. Like everybody got hit.
Wow.
Or you could just simply say, hey, the rocks tumble down. You squeeze yourself against the wall, but at the very last moment you slip, and as you slip, a huge chunk of ice just barely misses you over your left shoulder. But really, they all failed and got screwed. But that's totally up to you on whether it does. And like I said, the players, they just see nothing but dice. They don't see any totals or anything popping up at all. They just see, oh crap, dice is being rolled. We're screwed. So
That's cool.
yeah.
So, and of course, this is a little bit of of something that I want you to show, and or if it's possible for you to show. Um, they Fantasy Grounds has adventures as well. Oh,
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah,
uh,
we'll go over this really quickly, and then we'll move on to that. Okay.
oh,
Now,
party sheet. Okay,
yeah. So now, right now, the party inventory. See, the DM does not have to ask, "Hey, what do you guys have for party inventory?"
okay,
And as things get added, you just hit the refresh button. So if anything else got added to them, you would see it. So you don't have to say, "Hey Mo, what do you have?" You can just simply open the party sheet and just look. Okay, he's got this, this, this. Okay, cool. Now, okay, so now let's go to treasure because of course that's what everybody wants to get in role playing games is treasure, of course.
hmm
So, okay, say that you had a treasure hoard, like the players defeated a group of bandits and they had the bandit hoard. So you would just drag the bandit hoard as you made into a parcel, and I'll go ahead and open up that and see where are the parcels. So now here is, oh yeah, I can just use this. So you have all the stuff. You just left click and drag all this stuff in here. Or if there's some stuff that you want it custom, you just simply unlock it, hit the edit list, and then hit the green button. And a new line will get generated here. You can just manually type in something like this small bit of wood carved into the shape of a sitting cat. Of course, you're not going to find that in the trinkets or anything else. So that's custom, and you just go ahead and lock it back down. And of course, any coinage or whatever. So you just when you're done, you just lock it back down. Now you left click and drag this into the parcel items. Okay, so now you see all this stuff, and let's say that you allow the characters to to be able to view the party sheet, because you can go in the options and turn it off to where they can't see it. So it's like, okay, Mo, uh, out of this stuff, what do you want? And he'll say, you know what, say Mo might be a ranger or whatever. So you say, okay, I'm going to take the flint. So what the player would do would be left click and drag over their portrait up here at the top, because where all the players' portrait would be. And
Mhm.
then you would see as a GM, okay, assignment Mo. It will not go away from the sheet. It will still keep it tallied for you, but you would see who has it. And then, of course, one of the DM's pet peeves and things that just make their brains go numb is trying to divvy up coinage. Well, when people are part of the party sheet,
Mhm.
and you can set whatever percentage you want here in this box below. You would simply, and of course, it's not going to work now because there's nobody to, yeah, there's nobody connected. But all this coinage would be separated to each character that's in the party sheet. So say that the fight ended, but maybe Larry, let's say, unfortunately, Larry died. So you would remove him from the excuse me, the party sheet. So then the goal would be divvy up 50-50 between two people instead of three.
Cool.
So that's that.
That's
And
awesome.
marching order. Now, this can be, you can take people like you're going down this corridor, and a lot of confusion always ensues. Okay, who is who's first, second, third, whatever. So when it gets finally done, instead of having to always continue to ask, okay, who's in first and who's doing backup, you would simply drag the player's tokens over here. So like going through a dungeon corridor, okay, you would say Mo's going first, so his token would be right there. Larry's second, Curly's third. Or sitting around a campfire, Mo, Larry, Curly, or whatever, or you're doing an escort for a wagon or something. You just put the tokens wherever they are. That's where the characters are.
Cool.
And finally,
I like that.
XP. So now the GM can award XP via awards or awards for quests. So of course you do the encounters. You have the encounter. You already made it out and stuff like that. The party defeats the group of monsters or whatever. And so down here you would have, okay, like bandit encounter, and then you would already have the CR award, blah blah blah. So what you would do is highlight the encounter award and click award. Then whoever's in the party, the XP will be split up equally amongst those people. And then same thing for quest. Say that the quest was to rescue the king's daughter that was kidnapped by the bandits. Well, if they complete it, you would do the exact same thing. Highlight the quest, hit award, and then the XP would be equally doled out to the characters. But hey, if they didn't do it, well, they don't get it. And the awards can also be for single. Say that Larry said that he wanted a to find a clue for his long lost cousin or brother Shemp. So then, if he completed it, you would simply just left click and drag that award over to Larry and drop it on him. So then only he would get the XP for it, but nobody else. So
Hmm.
it takes a lot of that crazy guesswork and calculating stuff for XP to give out to characters. And that is it for the party sheet.
Wow.
Are
I do like the party sheet. That's one of those things where, before a game starts, or even at the end of a session zero, dungeon masters, game masters really want to know, like, initiative orders and armor classes from everyone, and that, like you said, that annoying thing of dividing up all the the gold or coins or whatever. It's just easier when you have a digital tool like that to just click it. It gets propagated into their character sheets, or you can have the items they find, and each of the players can just kind of like just left click and grab and attach it to their character sheet, and you don't have to have anything to do with them dividing up the goods. I really like that.
Right. Or you can let them fight over it. Like you said, like I was saying earlier, you can have them left click and drag. But hey, it's like, oh, well, I wanted that. Well, you know what? Go ahead and fight it out if you want, or role play it out, or whatever. And then whoever wins, they can drag it over to their sheet and be done with it. So it really gives you that sense of fluidity of the ebb and flow of how the session is going. It can be done or critiqued, drawn back, or expanded however you see fit on the fly during the gaming session. And there's not a whole lot that you really need to do about it. Okay, you said that you wanted to see like some adventures. Okay, so let me go and crack open one. Let's see. Yep, I got a lot of stuff. I got I got a problem. Oh man. Okay, you know what? Let's crack open the Horde of the Dragon Queen. Everybody knows that one. Okay, so you'll see it over here, and here's everything laid out for you. Random encounters, customized equipment, art, magical items to be found, NPCs, parcels, quests, stories, templates of stories, tables, backgrounds, and of course the reference manual and spells. Now, this is properly done by Smiteworks. If somebody would have done this normally, if they had to know how, they can actually build it like this to where it would be like professional looking.
Okay.
That's not me. There's not going to be in a reference manual in there at all. It's just like I'll put some stuff in there for you to figure out how to use it, and hopefully you're smart enough to go ahead and follow it up and be able to use it. But okay, so when you crack open a module, of course you want to hit the story, and like I said, this is properly laid out. So you'll see conversion notes and all that stuff all laid out, properly titled and all that stuff. Now, you can go by this, you know, down the line if you want. But hey, if you want to switch stuff up, like okay, say the first one, greenness and flames. You go ahead and open that, and you'll see all the fluff text and everything, and there's some artwork for you to look at. Just like everything from the actual hardcover module will be in here.
Yeah.
But say you didn't want to do Green Instant Flames, you don't have to do it. You're the DM. You do what you want. So if you didn't want to follow this, you don't have to go by it at all. You just skip over it, and maybe you want to add something because see up here you see this little black lock. All you gotta do is click it. It's unlocked. Now, if you want to erase all this stuff here, that's totally up to you. Or if you want to change it or add something to it, that's totally up to you. It's just like buying the module in real life. Once you buy the module, you can alter it however you see fit. If you wanted to add some random encounter tables of your own, you can just simply just slide it in here, make another space, and then add another link to some other random encounters. Instead of this wandering encounters, you could add in your own table, custom table, and say, okay, I'm not going to go by this one. I'm going to go by this one. So it's still the bones of the module, but now you've added something that's customized from you into it. So once again, it's like buying it in real life and then tearing out what you don't want or adding what you think is lacking and still running with it. It's
Right.
the only difference is it's digital.
That's awesome. Now, just for my own ego, um, how about showing them the Bridge of Death and kind of like what you've created using like customize. I don't know if you want to say call it customizing, but what you were able to import into Fantasy Grounds,
Oh yeah, sure.
something
I,
that doesn't exist.
okay, yeah, sure. I can definitely do that. So let's
Looks like
minimize
you're
this.
setting it. Oh, okay, okay.
Okay, and
Where's
okay. There it is right there. See, I even use the critical hit potion, guys. Yeah, woo woo. Okay, so go ahead and click that now. See, it's not going to be as pretty as the other stuff is, but you still got the stuff that you need to actually run the thing. That's the most important thing. I mean, yeah, you can use extra time to make it look pretty and do fluff text and everything, but really, at the end of the day, when somebody gets a module and opens it up, what do? They normally rip out most of the fluff text anyway and add their own stuff anyway. So so I do have the story model set up. So here's the story and how it's laid out, and I try to be as professional as possible. I did the cover art, and of course it's super huge, and you can scale it to whatever you see fit. But down here in the right corner, you can move it around to however you need it, scroll it, stretch it, however you need. And there it is.
That's
The,
sweet.
the
Okay.
Bridge of Death by Critical Hit Publishing. Publishing. There you go. Cool. All right, now that's the cover and the credits, and you can make it professional by you can do
Yeah.
everything like you do, make words bold and italicized, underline, all that stuff. So Bridge of Death, go hit publishing, Fantasy Grounds version adapted by Fat Ninja DM, and using this module, trying and basically what I've done here is I just took all the text from the PDF and just copied and pasted in here and changed the numerous typos that when you take something from a PDF, I don't know why
Okay.
they do that. Anything
I
that has an F or S in it, I believe, it always pops up as question marks or whatever. So
yeah.
you have to go in there and clean all that up, and hopefully I did. Um, but I mean, of course, I won't be selling this. I'll just be using it for my own personal use. And just make stuff look bold. Try to make it look as pretty as you want. Like I said, you can put as much time and effort into this as you want. And basically, it just goes over what you are expecting of the module and how to use it, the hooks and goals and everything, and then the keys. So basically, what I did here is I took the tables that I made and I put
Okay.
them right here so you can easily access them. So hooks and goals and everything, characters, trappings, threats, and changes. So instead of having to go back in here and look at clicking the tables, they're all linked in here on the story entry, so you don't have to do all that extra clicking back and forth.
Okay.
And the story entries, allows you to put all this stuff on one page because who wants to do all the clicking? Like, okay, go to library, click that, scroll down and find the module, open that up. Okay, what I need an image. Okay, click that. No, we just added all the story entry, and it's all right here for you to use.
Okay.
All right, so legal info, all the stuff that people don't read. And like I said, I try to make it look as professional as possible.
Wow.
And then end of license, I made sure that the names were bold. Oh, who's that guy? Who's that guy? I don't know who that guy is.
I'm still trying to figure it out.
And then the end, I just simply just put some art, the story of Morgan. I didn't pixel this down enough to where it looked very good,
Okay.
but yeah, you can do that if you want. And like I said, you can shrink it down and whatever you need to do, stretch it to make it more visible or whatever, stuff like that. So, um, and the thing that really excited you, DBJ, was the tables that I made.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's crack these bad boys open. So in the PDF, you can just go ahead and just pick from the list of stuff that's there. But I want to go a little bit further with it. So it's like, okay, instead of just picking one, why don't you just be able to have it random so you have another choice? You say you can go ahead and pick it. It's like, well, I really don't know what I want to do. It's like, you know what, screw it. Let's just go ahead and just roll. So I took all the text through all the hooks and goals and assigned them a number, 1 through 10, and we just simply roll. Okay, we're doing the treasure map thing. Okay, cool. Or you could just simply pick like you would normally would. So it's just a little added love that I put to it because let's face it, we all love tables. you know.
rolling on them or reading them and getting inspiration from them, or
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
yeah.
Tables. I have scoured the internet, and I have tons and tons of tables that I have imported into Fancy Grounds. Because once again, I have a problem. I got issues. I love tables. I love tables to roll on tables and so on and so forth and stuff like that. So I really love getting into tables. And same thing with the characters. Like now with this table here, not only do I have the name of the NPC, I also have the stat block, the MP sheet already attached. So let's roll. What do we get? We get Tim the Enchanter. Now, this link, this little shield, that's the link for it. So you simply click that, boom, that brings up this sheet. So instead of having to go through the NPCs and going to the Bridge of Death, finding him, clicking the sheet, it's just right there. You click it, and this is really cool right here. Text under the abilities of NPCs
Mhm.
are actually that's part that's highlighted right there.
Okay.
That can force someone to make a saving throw. So let's bring up the combat tracker again.
All right.
And let's say that the Stooges have came across the Bridge of Death and they encounter Tim the Enchanter. He starts babbling and stuff like that. And let's say he go targets Curly. Curly fails. Now,
Oh,
they must make the save or be compelled to hurl themselves into the chasm. Companions will have one round to stop them. They will not resist being restrained, though. Okay, so now Curly feels he just stops talking to everybody and starts walking toward the chasm, looking to throw himself into it. Now, if Mo and Larry are being jerks like they are sometimes, hey, they might let him jump into the chasm.
yep.
But then Mo might like, well, he's so stupid. He didn't know what the heck he's doing. He says he even wants to restrain him just to slap him across the head or whatever. So, yeah, so you can just do that and have things linked together. So once you have things set up in a story context, you don't ever have to open up anything unless you want to open up something on the fly. It's not opposed to being flexible and doing stuff on the fly. And the really cool feature that they've added within the last, I think it's like in the last 6 or 7 updates. Here at the bottom of the page, you can actually use it like a book.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So, is it? What was I thinking? Um, do you also use Fantasy Grounds as a digital placemat map? Like, do you have your maps out with lighting and I don't know, debris and caves and walls and things as well, or do you prefer just the idea that you have everything at your fingertips, um, such as the combat tracker, the party sheet, those kind of things?
I'm kind of flexible. It's basically whatever the players are into. Like if they're into theater of the mind, I'm all down for that. And if the majority of the party likes maps and stuff like that, I can have maps. I'm not a person that really gets into detailed maps or anything. I just take a map and then try to add flavor to it. So let's go ahead and crack open a map pack and get a map out here. Let's see. Once again, I have a problem. I got too much stuff. Okay, let's load up. Now, when you get the standard or ultimate license, you get access to these battle maps. They're very generic battle maps, but it's just something to get you going until you start importing your own maps. Like if you use Photoshop or some other person that does that work for you or whatever. So we go to maps and images,
Hmm.
open that up, and now we start looking for okay FG battle maps, and there's nothing there. Oh crap! I don't have that loaded.
No, no. I mean, we're like an hour and a half into this, so we can do. I mean, specifically, we could do that as like another stream if you want to do that, or what have you, or if there's something specific like you wanted to bring up, whether it's how to use battle maps or anything like that. Yeah, I'm always game for that. Always
Yeah.
game for
Well, of course, inevitably, you want to go into combat at some point. It's normally unavoidable. So let's just concentrate on the combat tracker for right now. So
that.
at the start of combat, of course, the DM says that famous line, "Roll initiative." So you double click in the initiative box, and when you drag NPCs into the combat tracker, by default it's turned on. The initiative will already be rolled for the NPCs, and it's really helpful if you got like a really big encounter, like several monsters. Instead of rolling the individual initiative for them, it's automatically rolled. It can be assigned as a group, like they all got the same number, or it can be random.
Okay.
So, so you can change it to how you see fit. So let's get the other guys to roll initiative. Get that going. Okay. Okay, so we got Curly that's got the highest initiative, and down here you'll see the round. Of course, is zero. And now this right here is an actual extension. This is the combat timer. Now, of course, it's not going to work because there's no players connected to the table. But if you got players that like to be on their phones and stuff like that, now it will start counting down or whatever. So when it's over, say you give everybody a minute to do what they got to do and then pass their turn. Well, say that Curly's character is messing around on his phone, being on Facebook or whatever. So when that counter goes down, he'll hear a ding on his end and say, "Hey, you got to pay attention, dude. What's wrong with you?" And also, when a player passes their turn, and it can be turned off, but by default it's on. Whenever the next person is up, they will hear an audible ding to let them know, okay, it's your turn. Nobody else hears it besides that person. So it's
Oh,
like, oh, okay, I got to do something. Okay, what's going on? And then they can move and they'll do what they do. So okay, we're in combat. Curly, and so let's open up his sheet. And yeah, I was being wacky with this. Bonk on the head. Now, now there are several ways of targeting people in Fancy Grounds. Now you can do this is what I normally do a lot. You would just simply left click and drag your dice. Now you see the dice, and you would just drop it over the character or creature in the combat tracker. So now it rolls. It says attack, bonk on the head, and it missed the manager. It shows the roll and the modifiers that apply and stuff like that too. So the player knows, okay, was everything added in there? Because like sometimes somebody gets pissed off. It's like, I should have hit him. Something didn't get calculated. No, dude, it's all right there for you to see. So shut up, you missed. And so now Curly will pass his turn, and right here, this little down arrow says next actor. So now it goes to Mo because he's the second highest. And the person's playing Mo, he will hear that ding, so
okay.
then he knows what to do. So let's open up his sheet, poke to the eye.
Ooh,
So,
that's really dangerous.
and he missed.
Exactly.
So he's not going to do anything else. So now the angry bank manager, he loaned the Stooges a loan and they didn't pay on time, so he's come to collect. So we got his attack of a club. So now you highlight and you see it's highlighted in blue. That's the actual attack roll.
Okay.
So you left click and drag that, and we're going to drop it on Mo, and that's a hit, solid hit.
Ooh, 19. Ooh.
So now Mo's going to take some damage. Okay, so he took full four damage, and you see the number is red. That's the wounds. Now he's not. He's going to pass on to Larry. Like I said, the player playing Larry will hold a ding, and we'll go to him. His actions tab, slap to the face.
That, that's their own fault, though. I mean, they get a ton of jobs, but they can never keep one.
Right. Oh, he hits. Slaps. Oh, full
Ooh,
damage. Oh man,
ooh,
that was a pimp slap right there. That was a
wow,
slap. That was a pimp slap. And
wow.
of course, this is very rudimentary showing of the combat tracker, but it keeps track of that everybody's in combat. The players can see the combat tracker. They know when their turn is coming up. So if they're decent players, they'll say, "Okay, my turn is coming up. What am I going to be doing?" Or, "Okay, I got this planned up, but I got a plan B in case this goes on," and stuff like that too. So
And,
it,
and I'm presuming that like spells are in many ways you're using the same uh digital method to cast a spell. Like you would go to your spell, grab it, and in a sense throw it at someone or something. Maybe I'm asking to go too far into.
oh no, no, dude. Like I said, this is what we're here for.
Okay.
So let's go. Let me see. Player's handbook. No, that's the wrong one. Now with the unfortunately with see color effects. Let me stretch this out so I can actually see. Now the bad thing about the player's handbook, yes, they got all the spells in there,
Okay.
but when you have just a stock player's handbook, the spells are not coded. So then you have to go on the wiki and try to find all that stuff and add the spells and effects yourself. That's the only thing that I don't like about them doing that stuff like that. But there, Rob Tui is a big YouTube streamer for Fancy Grounds. He actually works for Smiteworks.
Okay.
He actually coded anything that can have an effect or a spell effect or damage or anything like that. He is actually coded like weapons, armor, spells, wondrous items, rods, staffs, wands, all that stuff.
Okay.
So that if you buy that, that has all that stuff already done for you, so then you don't have to do it. So I'm trying to find these feats effects. Okay, maybe I don't have it open. Let's go in here, check it out. All right. Let's see. Class effects.
So while you look that up, um, so I'm actually under the impression that like you could really um customize anything from spells or magic weapons or special abilities and things based on your setting. So if you wanted something post-apocalyptic, not it's not even just changing the names, but you could actually change the coding of how the spells are used. So because in your world maybe they're not spells at all, maybe they're like mutations or something.
Oh,
You're
oh
you're being
yeah,
you're tainted or something. And
absolutely, absolutely. You, like I said, the only restriction is your imagination by what you want to do.
okay,
So let's give Larry acid splash.
okay,
Now, like I said, from the player's handbook, you wouldn't get all this extra stuff. You would just get acid splash spell, and you would click that. That's what you would get.
okay,
But since Rob Tui has done it with his pack, he's added everything. So let's say that Larry is going to do an acid splash on the manager. So you would left click and drag that over that. That forces the manager to make a save. Okay, he succeeded. So, but now let's say he failed. So now we have to apply damage. Left click and drag the damage over him. Ooh, took full damage pretty much. So
ooh,
yeah, now he took damage, and once again, of course, the damage is added. And let's say that there was a mistake, so that you could just reset it.
ooh,
And the damage is still there, but now in the chat box, it's been, taken away. But now, what if, say that you made a call on the fly to where, the damage got doubled. So then, if it was still actually active,
Hmm.
then the um the damage would have actually been doubled after it had been rolled. But
Okay.
so like you can change stuff on the fly. Like maybe there was a environmental thing that added extra acid damage to it, so you can, or something that maybe mitigated the damage that the person actually rolled. So on the fly, once again, you could just critique what damage is. It can be enhanced or it can be lessened and stuff like that. So it just all depends on how the game is flowing, and what the DM is wanting to go for the flavor of what's going on.
Sweet.
Okay, and now again, let's get into targeting multiple people. Now, there's another way, of course, of let's go and get, see here. Let's go with a level one spell,
Hmm.
and these filters are great because after a while, after either making your own custom content or whatever, you'll start having so much stuff in here, it will take you forever to start going through and trying to find stuff. So let's go with cleric, and let's go with a healing word. Perfect. Okay. So now let's go ahead and clear the chat out a little bit. So okay, we got healing word, but now say in your setting, let's see. Once again, this can be altered. So we unlock it. So let's say we want to call it um, blessed healing.
Okay.
So we'll lock it back down, and you see that the name changed. Okay, now let's say that Curly has taken 5 points of damage. Mo's already taken some damage, and of course, healing word is a ranged spell. But say that you wanted to make it so where it can be a AOE or target multiple people or whatever. That's totally up to you, and that can also be changed on the fly. So let's say that Larry is casting it. So what you want to do is hit targets, and this little drop down will come up. So now what you want to do is left click and drag over whoever you want to target. Hopefully that worked. I think that worked maybe.
Yep. Yep.
Yep. So you can target whoever you want to target. Click the button, and it shows how much healing was applied. And then, of course, the numbers get dropped accordingly. And like I said, that can be changed on the fly. Like I said, healing word is arranged. Maybe in your world, healing is not as powerful as what it is in this realm. So maybe healing word is actually a touch spell now. It's like your connection to the divine has been almost severed, and just through your sheer willpower alone, you can eke out a divine burst, but it has to be directly on the person instead of being at range. You know.
Cool.
And like I said, see, instead of healing word, it's called blessed healing. So once again, you can go in and change. You can go and change how much damage. You just go in there. Okay, it does 1d4. Right click, clear the dice out. Let's say you do like blessed healing, like you do it like once a day or something like that. It does 1d20 or whatever.
Okay.
Click it again, bam. But
Sweet.
and yeah, just on the fly, like say that during a battle with a demon, um, the player character says, I want to run and try to plunge my sword enveloped in holy fire upon the demon, and yet I want to try to get off just a small little healing spell. And you're like, man, he's willing to do that. Okay, go ahead and roll your blessed healing, but I'm gonna give you this bonus. So you go in there and change it, or have the player change it. Say, you know what, change your healing amount to D20. So on the fly, the player can go in there, boop, open it up, clear it out, put a new dice in there, and roll with it. And then if you want to change it back, you just simply go back in there, clear it out, change it back, just like that. Or you want to add a bonus to it, or Instead of targets, you want to target the healing does just to yourself. So whenever you cast it, it's going to automatically be on you 'cause it's self.
Okay.
Or maybe you let's say the blessed healing added um, some bardic inspiration or something like that. So you would roll the heal and then go back in here and change it real quick to temporary hit points, and then roll it again. Now see, now it's got temp hit points, the number that comes up in blue. And you can actually
Oh,
make that added effect added on to it by adding an action. So let's go ahead and alter bless healing to not only do temporary and but also do regular. So let's go ahead and set this back to HP. Now go to the spell, right click, and you'll see this menu. We want
mhm.
to add an action, that's the arrow. Left click that, and you'll see another arrow. So of course we want to add a heal. So we click that, now we got another space. So now we left click on that and say we wanted to do a D4 and we wanted to change temporary. So now let's erase all the stuff up here.
Mhm.
So now when it's cast, you can cast, okay, here's the regular heal and then the temp. So
Oh,
not only will they heal their wounds, it also get you can say instead of temporary hit points, you say over shield.
okay.
Like you could change make a spell that gives temporary hit points. You could call it kinetic shield or over shield or whatever just whatever you want. So the hit and of course the temporary hit points get taken away first, of course, and then any extra damage would bleed over into your hit points, and that's done automatically. You don't have to manually do that either, because when you take damage, the temp hit points get taken away first. Say you had 5 temp hit points and you took 7 points of damage. Well, those five would get ate up, and then the rest of the damage would bleed into their normal hit points, and that's automatically calculated for you.
Sweet. Very nice.
Okay,
So,
and that's it for that. So, if there's not any other questions in the chat, if you want to, sir, we can go ahead and wrap it up unless there's something else that you want me to show you real quick.
um, nah, let's wrap it up for now. Hopefully there will be other comments and questions that will come in, maybe about fantasy grounds, maybe something maybe a little more, maybe some people have things that are a little more specific that they might not have wanted to mention out in the open, or just not have the ability to, because it's for those who don't live in the States, it may not be considered like a holiday for them, but those of us in the States, it is actually Labor Day, so it's a actual national holiday for us. So some people may not even be available, but they might be
Right.
able to see the video later,
Mm-hmm.
put in their queue or whatever, and then we'll just I'll collate all those questions, and then we'll probably do another one at a later date, and then we can kind of address those issues as well. And especially since you're part of the Fantasy Grounds um, college, I'm sure you probably get more questions as people try to learn it that they didn't think they had those questions before they started. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if a teacher says, "Hey, you have any questions?" and they're like, "I don't even know what I'm doing yet," but then once they get into it, it's like, "Oh, hey, I want to do this thing," or "Do you have access to this other thing?" So maybe that might be an issue as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. We have our Ask the Expert section, and you wouldn't believe all the same questions that get asked over and over and over again. But that's okay. We've put links to videos that other people in the community have made, like Zacchaeus or Zacchaeus. He actually works for SmiteWorks doing conversions for stuff for fifth edition to Fantasy Grounds, but he's also part of our community, and he watches the Ask the Experts in there, and he also watches it for the official Discord channel for Fancy Grounds. And he's a really great guy. He asks all questions. He don't care if he got asked the same questions 50 times in a day. He will still answer the question, or
That's
he'll refer you to a link that will answer the question for you. He's just a really good guy, and he works extremely hard, and there are tons of friendly people over there at the college. I I encourage you, I implore you to go over there and check it out. You'll find some really cool people, tons of resources, and if people have skills like programming, writing, map making, stuff like that. We could always use more volunteers to do that because we have such a want for DMs and people to make maps and stuff like that. And we do work with a lot of map makers and stuff like that. But anybody else that wants to show off their talent, please go over to the college, get acclimated, and our two founders, Run and Patty, you know, they'll point you in the right direction. And like I said at the top of the video, we're more than a community; we're a family. And BBJ, I just want you to, I just want to say thank you very much for allowing me to come on here and show off Fantasy Grounds and people. This is just scratching the surface. There is so much stuff that can be dug into more. It is insane the amount of being able to customize and tweak stuff to your liking. So I encourage you, try the demo, link up to somebody's table, or spend that cup of coffee. Like somebody said, it's very expensive. Yes, Starbucks is the bane of all existence over here. So spend at Starbucks, and just try it out for a month. If you don't like it, hey, you're only out of $4. So once again, thank you, DBJ. I really appreciate it.
Uh, Not a problem, man. And of course, I love reaching out to the greater community. I think I've mentioned this before publicly. Like, I would love to be kind of a hub for different creators, for people who have unique or very specialized talents, even in the RPG community. And I'm a big proponent of having um, choices, right? So if we only had, for example, only had done D&D Beyond, there would be no choices, and without those choices, um, it kind of limits the playing field. It's kind of with being creative and how to use those tools. Whereas Fantasy Grounds is out there. They still have a contract with WotC, um, and having people support that platform, it might scratch that itch that maybe other platforms don't. Just kind of like the difference between Pathfinder and Fifth Edition Dungeons and Dragons. There's a difference between the two because different people have different needs and wants and desires in their gaming. So why not have choices with your digital platform as well? And this is it's still out there, man. It's still strong. It's just one of many options for people to pick and choose and kind of play with. You know what I mean? That's not depending on people's financial situation may or may not be that much. A cup of coffee a month here in the states, it's not really a big deal. So yeah, why not? Why not try it? Or heck, join into a game with someone who's running a game with Fantasy Grounds, see how it works for you as a player, and then join in as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's always some one shots. Sometimes going practice games, stuff like that. So just get in there and just reach out. We also have a section that's looking for class because a lot of times teachers or aides put up scheduled classes. Sometimes, hey, life is in the way. You got to work, school, whatever. So we can't facilitate all at once. So hey, just get on there and say, hey, look, I'm available Monday and Thursday between these times. Can somebody help me out? I want to learn this, blah blah blah. And then 9 times out of 10, man, there's somebody that will bend their back to able to get in there and get you into a one-on-one or try to make a class built around that time to get you, because that's what our job is, to get people in, get them trained up, so then they can eventually either start playing at tables or make that big leap of faith and start becoming a dungeon master and start running their own games and having their own adventures with their own party.
I'm just amazed that there's I'm about to say community college. Okay, okay. I'm just amazed that there is a community like Fantasy Grounds College that is that has organized themselves to specifically teach people how to use these things. That would almost that would be the equivalent of having like um, training for teaching people how to do fifth edition Dungeons and Dragons or something. But actually having a community that does that, I think is rather amazing, and especially the fact that um, you've probably gathered so many positive individuals who can point people in the right direction to use these kind of digital tools. Because often, even if you read, I don't know how many times you'll turn on a random program and it'll say click here for help, and you start reading through the help section. You're just like, that's not helping me at all. The fact page
Yeah.
isn't really. I mean, yeah, I've got a question, but I have something that's a little bit more specific than what I need, and be able to talk with someone one on one and have them help you through it. I think it's awesome.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because there was a need for it, and thank goodness for They Run and Patty to fill that void. Because man, looking at Fancy Grounds, you get intimidated. I mean, I know I was, and the college wasn't around back then when I was starting off with Fancy Grounds. I am so glad what little knowledge I do have. It's been enhanced by the college, and I've learned more. So not only does it make me a better dungeon master, virtual dungeon master, and then I can now impart my knowledge to other people. And that's just what it's all about. People get all these negative aspects and toxic communities. You just stay away from them, and that doesn't exist in the college, because when it raises its ugly head, we snap off that head very quickly. We don't mess around.
Man, absolutely. Don't feed the trolls.
Right.
So, so um, I guess I'll sign off now. I am DBJ. If you guys don't know that by now, if you're 2 hours deep into one of these vlogcasts that I do with the co-host, then you're a true geekhead. So thanks for joining us. Chances are there's probably going to be yet another Fantasy Grounds College demo for you guys, especially if you ask for it, it's going to come anyway. And I'm sure Fat Ninja DM is going to have so many more ideas after we sign off, which is I know is one of my problems. Like, oh, I forgot to say this thing, or I've got these great ideas. So yeah, we'll bring them to you as well. Anybody out there who, of course, who wants to reach out as well, just contact me in the various things down in the section below the video. All the relevant links and everything are down there as well. So thank you very much, guys, and have a very pleasant day.